The film opens in Australia and is set in the bleak year 2053. According to the narrator, after the last war, the crime rate has risen by over 800%, resulting in an overwhelming surge in the jail system. To mitigate the burden on prisons, the government has introduced the Box Rehabilitation Program, a system that provides the prisoners two choices: either volunteer to be immediately eliminated or spend their sentence in solitary confinement. Food and water will only be provided inside the box with the consent of law-abiding residents. Anyone seen making attempts to flee or helping others do so would be executed with great severity. Then one of these prison boxes contains a French woman who is imprisoned. She seems to be struggling hard to live without food or water. She eventually has her lowest breakdown because she is so overcome by the pain. As a result, she retrieves a small razor blade from a corner and fatally slashes her own neck. In the next scene, we are shown a rocky island beside numerous prison boxes. There, a girl and a young boy are seen playing with a rubber ball. Shortly after, the ball hits one of the boxes, causing prisoner 371. As she wakes up, she finds her hands and legs tied with ropes. She frantically bangs on the box walls, shouting to be let out. At that moment, a woman appears on a little screen to tell her that the jury has found her guilty and has sentenced her to 7 years of rehabilitation without the possibility of release. She further asserts that her food and water will be lied to only at the discretion of citizens. She betrayed them. Hearing this, the prisoner screams and cries, insisting that she is innocent. The following day, prisoner Laura wakes up and waves her food container to request some water, but there is no one around to respond. After that, she begins to check every box in the hopes of discovering a way out, but she gets shocked every time she touches one. Time makes survival even more difficult. Meanwhile, in the other prison box, we see prisoner 115,558 searching for an escape way. While inspecting, she inadvertently triggers an alarm, causing a red light to flicker. As a consequence, a sharp metal rod descends from the ceiling, which brutally impales her to death. The next morning, prisoner Lee is woken by a young woman who provides her with small food pellets and some water. After that, she begins to check every box in the hopes of discovering a way out, but she gets shocked every time she touches one. Time makes survival even more difficult. Following this, she takes a rope from the floor, intending to commit the unthinkable. She starts choking herself until she runs out of breath, but in the nick of time, she releases herself as she is unable to go any further. She then cries out loud, wondering what she did wrong to end up with such a fate. Over time, prisoner Lee accepts her sentence and employs various distractions in order to cope with her situation. She begins to spend her days resting and staring out a little hole. One day, she reaches her hand outside and obtains the rubber ball. This acts as another means to help her pass the time after a few weeks. The prisoner's box is moved by a drone to what looks to be a woodland, so she can now go bird watching. A girl in blue approaches Lee, the prisoner, early in the morning. She asks her what she's doing, to which the prisoner replies that she's serving her 7-year sentence. The girl starts a conversation asking if she has heard of William Shakespeare. When the prisoner answers in the negative, the girl offers her a book to read, but the latter refuses to accept it, claiming that she is not permitted to do so during her rehabilitation period. In the midst of their conversation, the girl asks the prisoner to come closer, after which she holds her hands and recites some lines from Shakespeare's book, making her feel good. The girl's hands are a small bag with food pellets and bids farewell, promising to visit her again in the aftermath. It's the first human interaction in such a long time that gives prisoner less stimulation. As a result, she lies down on the floor and touches herself, disregarding the fact that the CCTV camera is recording everything. Later, while eating, prisoner Lake discovers a miniature book nestled within the food packet. She turns it back to the surveillance camera and opens it, only to learn that it is a copy of William Shakespeare's book. Later, prisoner Lee uses the saved water to clean herself, preventing infections from her body wounds. She then pours the used water outside through the opening, and the CCTV camera catches her, wasting the drinking water. As a result, she is transported back to the seaside. Sometime later, the same civilian girl from earlier comes to her and inquires what she did to end up here. But instead of a direct answer, the prisoner asks how the citizens decide whom to feed among all of the imprisoned people. The girl confesses that she simply strolls among the boxes, talks to the inmates, and provides them with food. Converse prisoner Lee tells her that she reminds her of her younger sister, who is no longer alive. The confinement period continues, and the only solace for prisoner Lee is the miniature book, which she regularly reads, hiding it from the camera. A few days later, the drone again transports her to another location. There she is approached by a citizen who taunts her by eating a juicy apple in front of her. Overwhelmed by extreme hunger, prisoner Lee pleads with a man to show her some mercy, but he rudely declines. He further claims that all the prisoners should be executed without any mercy. Nevertheless, he is willing to offer his apple under the condition that she allows him to fulfill his gratification. Although this is against the law, the prisoner, who is driven by starvation, reluctantly agrees to his condition. She then removes her underpants and lets him have his way. In the midst of this illicit transaction, a patrolling drone catches him and instantly opens fire, killing the lawbreaker on the spot. Despite this, she reaches her arm outside and retrieves an apple from the deceased citizen. She immediately devours it, but to her dismay, the fruit is stuffed with worms, which prompts her to throw up. The same night, prisoner Lee wakes up to a blaring siren, and a voice tells her that she has violated the prison rule by agreeing to trade for food. This breach results in punishment of 7 days of insomnia. As a result of this, the subsequent days pass like hell for her, because every time she closes her eyes, a huge siren emanates along with the flickering lights and a desperate bid to prevent herself from falling asleep. She bangs her head against the wall, inflicting self-harm. The prolonged sleep deprivation plunges her into a state of hallucination, wherein she envisions a regal figure resembling her mirrored reflection. Eventually, the 7 days pass, and her punishment comes to an end. Her tired brain finally gets the rest it craves, after which she ends up sleeping for days. One night, she hears the sound of some fireworks. She gets up to look outside and sees the blossoming sky with colorful fireworks. It turns out that the citizens are celebrating the new year. One day, an elderly woman walks up to the prison box and talks to prisoner Late. She shares her own harrowing experience of enduring 15 years in a similar confinement, confessing how it molded her into a resilient yet unpleasant person. She then tosses an old, rusty razor blade towards the prisoner and walks away. In the next scene, prisoner Late is once again approached by the same Shakespeare enthusiast from earlier. The prisoner initially believes her to be a hallucination, but the girl tells her that she's real. That's exactly what a hallucination would say. She then offers her some water and recites another paragraph from Shakespeare's book. The scene then fast forwards to a few months later, and prisoner's belly has gotten enlarged. Here we learn that she is now pregnant with the baby of the man who offered her the apple. Earlier during the night, the Shakespeare enthusiast girl comes to prisoner Lou and expresses her desire to rescue her from captivity. However, the security system detects the interference, which causes the alarm to go off. Sensing the imminent danger, the girl hurriedly departs, after which the siren stops. As a few more months pass, prisoner Lee experiences the onset of labor. After enduring the pain for a long while, she ultimately manages to give birth to her baby inside the box. As soon as she holds the baby in her arms, she feels so happy that she forgets the pain that she has been suffering for years. However, her happiness is short-lived because the security system immediately senses an extra soul in the chamber. As a result, it releases a gas that acts as an anesthesia, rendering her unconscious by the time she regains her consciousness. Her child is already gone, which prompts her to cry frantically, screaming to have her baby back. However, as usual, her pleas go unanswered. At one point in time, prisonerless box is hit by the sea waves as well as a rainstorm, due to which the water begins to fill in it. As the chamber gets soaked, she starts shivering out of cold. In addition, the security system malfunctions due to water, so it perceives her presence as a violation of the confinement. Consequently, the authorities from outside, who are completely unaware of the real ordeal, issue a warning that if the interference is not cleared within a few seconds, the prisoner will get exterminated. With the countdown underway, the prisoner struggles against drowning in the rising water. Soon after, the countdown reaches 0, and the patrolling drone shows up to transport her for extermination. But on the way, the drone is struck by lightning, causing the box to plunge into the sea. In the final scene, we see some citizens playing on the coastline when they notice a prison box that has been washed ashore along with the prisoner lead. Regardless, they choose to ignore it and walk away from the scene, abandoning the unconscious prisoner.